Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2 a.m. Campfire Club. I'm Ethan.
I'm Reagan.
I'm Madelyn.
Sophia's also here.
Sup?
And today, what are we talking about, Madelyn?
Riverdale.
Boo!
Oh, okay, I
So
know it's a white
excited, dude.
people show, but okay, the first season was pretty good, and no one can deny that because I looked at rankings, and season 1 has the most votes for the best season.
It should.
And then
Every other season is
it's
horrible.
good.
That one season is actually good. Every other
Yeah.
season is actually horrible.
I forgot which one was number 2. But anyway,
I would assume it would be the second season would be second in ranking, but I don't know. I think
So-
people maybe liked the fourth season.
I think
Better
people
than
like
the
the
Yeah,
best season for
I
being
did like
bad.
the 4th season a little
Well,
bit.
yes.
But in my personal opinion, I like 1, 2, and then I don't really like the rest.
Two?
I watch it because it's white trash. And because it keeps getting worse, and I want to know how bad it can get.
See, that is.
Don't laugh at me,
It
Sophia.
got
I
to
know
the
it's white
point where
trash.
it was like harmful for my sanity. Like
I
the writers at a certain point just decided like they knew exactly what they were doing because
Yeah.
the reason why people were talking about Riverdale was because of like the cringy dialogue and like the
Yes.
insane
Which
things
gets
happening.
views.
Exactly.
My
And
God.
so eventually they just started like their approach to writing became let's just continuously up the ante on how
Exactly.
ridiculous
Just
this can
make
get.
it worse. Have people fake their deaths.
make it worse to
Have them
make it
kill them
better.
and then be like, surprise. You
Because
already
the
knew.
worse it gets, I mean to a certain extent, like, the worse it got, like people kept talking about it.
No, if it gets
And
so
that's
bad,
free marketing.
if it gets so bad to one point, then it might just be so bad it can't recover.
Well, I think at this point it's got diminishing returns because it generally, like,
Yeah.
the 5th season is currently airing, and I don't see a lot of people
Mhm.
talking about it.
Yeah, it's because
even though
people keep
it's
leaving it.
ridiculous.
People on the show are leaving. So
I think-
first of all, spoiler, Cole Sprouse is leaving.
Oh, thank God.
He's done. Hey, don't say that. He's top
Well,
5
I'm
hottest people
thankful
on
for
that
his
show,
sake.
okay?
I'm thankful for his sake.
his
I'm not
I'm
thankful for
happy
the
for
show
him
because
because
Jughead was the best
he
part.
deserves more than that.
Yeah,
God.
yeah. Madeline's such a Cole Sprouse fan, but didn't watch The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Oh,
Because I didn't watch Disney Channel.
How do you
Why
not
is it-
watch that?
Why does that make her a fake fan? I haven't seen The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
You
I wasn't
haven't?
allowed to.
Thank
I wasn't
you.
allowed
Thank
to.
you. I'm
As a
not the
ch-
only one. So I was obsessed with Disney Channel. You know the only like Disney XD Nickelodeon shows I watched?
Live in Maddie.
Ben 10. No, Ben 10, Johnny Test, a little bit of SpongeBob. I didn't really like it. And then like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse,
Live in
Little
Maddie.
Einsteins.
I was not allowed to watch
Live in
SpongeBob.
Maddie.
No,
I wasn't allowed to
watched
watch
Hannah
SpongeBob
Montana
as a kid.
first. I watched Hannah Montana
Same.
first.
I
And
was
then
really into
I
Hannah
never watched
Montana,
anything up
and
until
then I
Liv and
watched Liv
Maddie.
and Maddie.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Except
Period.
I
I'm
did
not
watch more
involved.
Disney than you. But
Uncultured.
I did watch
Okay,
more
I'm
I-
sorry.
Disney than
I
you.
didn't live
You
on Disney
didn't
Channel.
watch Jake and the Neverland Pirates when you were
I
little?
did. I didn't watch it when I was little because that's past
Too
my
old.
time.
Yeah.
I was already done.
For Jake
What?
and
You
the
I'm
watched
too
Neverland
old for taking
You watched
the
that?
pirate.
You're literally 7 months older than me, Madeline.
Ma'am, I watched
Yes,
Little
exactly.
Einstein.
We're saying
telling
that's
you
a
that
good
you're
one for
too
you.
old.
You were too old
Nah.
for it.
Nah.
I
was
only
like-
watched
I
Jake
was
and the
like
Neverland
6
Pirates
when it
because my
came out.
younger cousins
You were
did.
watching it when you were
Same.
6?
Same.
Frick yeah. When I would get up for elementary school at like 6 a.m. and nothing was on,
Okay,
you know what?
I
watched
did
Jake
watch
and the
Phineas and
Neverland
Ferb.
Pirates, and it was a bop.
Phineas and Ferb was a good show.
Phineas
It was a
and
good
Ferb,
show.
10 out of 10.
They have
Um,
a sequel show.
Yeah, I
that's-
want to watch that. Milo Murphy's
So,
Law.
It's actually pretty good. I watched every episode, but they brought
About
It's
the universe,
the main
right?
character. What?
It's like about the universe, right? Where it's what's it called?
Milo
It's called
Murphy's
Milo
Law.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah,
But
Plan Murphy's Law.
the main character is played by Weird Al Yankovic, and that makes me happy because And he's because they do so many songs in that, so it's just like to hear him sing a bunch of stupid songs in a kids show is pretty funny.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
back
Yeah, that's
to
not
Riverdale.
To Riverdale. I looked up the best seasons of Riverdale, like ranked. So according to Episode Ninja, season 1 is number 1. Season 5 is second. Then season 2.
Season 5 hasn't even finished yet, has it?
No, hasn't. It's still coming out. And then season 2, season 4, season 3.
That makes sense to me.
Do I agree with
Other-
that? Not really. I think season 2 is better than 5, but I also haven't seen 5. But I also
How can you know?
because I've heard spoilers and I'm just kind of eh.
So,
And like season 4 is the worst. I'm sorry.
You think season 4 is the worst?
Low key, yeah.
Because I really hated the 3rd season. I haven't seen the 4th season, but from
I
what I
didn't
was
hate
hearing,
the 3rd season.
seemed at least slightly more tolerable.
The 4th season just made me depressed. So that's why it's there.
That's what happened
I was like,
with
you
me in
can't
the
kill
3rd
off
season.
Jughead. You can't do that. And then they didn't.
I guess I
So
probably would hate the 4th season because they kept doing so much with Betty and Archie, and I just am really not here for that.
I was like,
Like-
we don't need to see them together. Thank you.
Exactly. One of
Like-
the things that I really liked about like the 1st season was how basically like in the 1st episode, Betty is like, "Hey Archie, I like you," and Archie's
And he's like-
"I don't like you back." And
He's like, ha,
he's
I'm
like,
there with our teacher instead.
yeah, we'll get to that.
Literally.
We'll get to
He's like,
that, but
oh yeah,
Isn't that the opening
Fantastic.
scene is her saying that she likes him or something, and then it cuts to him
yeah, I
with
love
their
that.
teacher,
I love that, but
and it shows
okay.
him all like hot and sweaty, like after working at the construction site with his dad, and then picks him up in her like Beetle or something.
yeah, her Volkswagen Beetle. Yeah,
I was like, what?
Wait, then now the teacher's kinky. Kinky.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, but then
that's
she gets
kinky, that's
killed.
predatory.
Yeah, she's a cougar.
That is
Not gonna
straight
lie.
up.
Because I think in the
predatory.
1st season, they're supposed to be 16.
Yeah,
16 or
they're
15.
They're supposed to be they're sophomores, so they're 15.
so that's just straight up illegal. Then.
Yeah.
Yes, that's just straight up. She's a predator. And it's
yeah.
so weird because the framing, it's like the show tells us that she's a predator with like
Yeah.
like it shows us her leering at other boys, and like in the 2nd season, like her doing that with another boy, but like none of the actual framing, like none of the music cues or the shot composition
Yeah.
or anything like communicates that. It's all filmed as like, ooh, this like sexy
And then we're like,
forbidden
oh my gosh.
romance.
This girl, and then she gets killed with a bow from a violin. Strangles
It
her,
was
and then
the
it
one
just
that Archie. It's the one that Archie gave her.
yeah, as a
Yeah.
present.
That the Black Hood slits her throat or
What
whatever.
does- He goes, yeah, actually, no.
Yeah,
But it's
Black Hood-
also like I appreciated her as a character for like story interest or whatever, to like keep the story going. But I got tired of her. She was just kind
I
of
really-
annoying, and I'm like, you
I
predator, go away.
I wish like if I wish the show had actually communicated that she was a
Yeah.
predator in a better way, because like I
Yeah.
honestly, the first time I watched it, I didn't know what they were trying, like I didn't know what they were going for, if it was
Yeah.
supposed to be like she was a predator, or
Yeah,
if it's supposed to be like a Pretty Little Liars
it's
style
supposed to.
forbidden
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be okay, or are you?
yeah.
Like it and there's
And
a
I
lot
shouldn't
of
have
shows.
to
I think-
rewatch a show to figure out whether or
Yeah.
not they think the predator character is a predator.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of shows that do that, unfortunately. Like they make it clear that somebody's a predator, but they also set you up so that you like them. Or like
Yeah.
you think that they're not supposed to be that, and so you're like they give you conflicted feelings about a character that
Yeah.
you should have clear feelings about.
Yeah.
And they want you to have clear feelings about. They just don't give them to you. They're like,
Yeah.
you want to think this, but we're gonna make you think something completely different because we're stupid.
Yeah.
Well, and
But-
like sometimes shows will do that intentionally, where they're specifically giving you mixed messages in order to like I think a good example of a show that does this well is like Hannibal, which is about Hannibal Lecter, a serial killer, but you have all these characters interacting with him, and he's like a likable guy, and then he keeps doing these horrible things, but you're like, oh
Like,
man,
but he's
or
so
like with you.
nice.
Exactly, where like you does this as well, and it's actually supposed to be a commentary about like what we actually feel about horrible people and how much our like feelings are influenced by much more superficial things.
Yeah.
But Riverdale's not doing that.
Yeah, no. They're not trying to
No,
make a commentary.
Tonal
They did it on
dissonance.
They did it on accident. They're
Mhm.
trying to make
Yeah.
one way about a character, but accidentally making you feel a different way about
Yeah,
the
and I don't know if it was like,
That's just poor writing. That's not
well, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily the writing's fault. I would say it's everything else. It's the production.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like a lot of the things that she was like, the way that she spoke to him, and it was like very manipulative and very controlling, and that seemed like the everything else about the show was not communicating that. So like the
Yeah.
music was sympathetic to her and romantic, and the framing was always like, it was like the whole thing in the car with like, it was like
Yeah.
meant to be like, it looked like it was meant to be reminiscent of that scene from Titanic. It's supposed to be like all romantic, and it's like
Or like, no,
you
she's just weird.
no, she's obviously, this is not okay, and why is everything but the writing communicating this?
Yeah, but I feel a
yeah.
character that they did do kind of dirty just a little bit was F.P. Jones. Because they made him
Love that guy.
I low key though, yes. He's a dynamic character, horrible father figure, terrible man.
Exactly.
But then in the later seasons, they're like, oh, family man, sheriff, now still does drugs, part of a gang. Wow, he's a great man. But he's a dynamic character though in every season though. Like I think the first one he like gets accused for murdering Jason Blossom, and I'm like, that's incorrect.
Yeah.
But then we're like, but he was low-key associated.
Yeah.
And then he like goes to jail for a little bit, and they're like, actually psych. And then Jughead's like, I miss my dad. And Betty's like, but he's abusive. Sir, what? Like you live in a trailer.
It was less about him being abusive, and it was more about the fact that Jughead was in a gang.
His gang. His father's gang. He was like, no.
I want to talk. Wait, can we talk about that for a second? Because in the first
Yes.
season, he wasn't the head of the gang. He was just in the gang.
No.
And then in the second season, it was like, yeah, he was totally the head of the gang this whole time. And now Jughead, by the divine right of kings, is going to inherit this position.
And then gives the freaking the serpent queen to Cheryl. I felt betrayed. I don't think you understand. I was like, Betty did a whole pole dance to get here, and you said no.
I'm not really sure if I got to that part of this. So we didn't really explain this, but Sophia and I have not watched past like a first, maybe a little bit of the second season. Reagan's watched through two or three seasons.
I've seen I've seen the first 3 seasons completely.
I think
I've seen the first season 3 times. The pole dance is in the second season. I remember this very distinctly.
Okay,
yeah, it's in the second season because that's during the plot line where it's, I think, kind of earlier in the season. Jughead's like been living on the south side with a foster family we never even see, which is so funny.
We were like, who are they?
Yeah, and he's like being like, he's going deeper and deeper into the serpents, and Betty is like, oh, but no.
I think
I feel so bad for Betty.
I'm pretty sure that's around when I stopped.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Betty. Queen deserved better. Why she went after Jughead?
I kind of hated Betty.
All of the characters deserve better.
I thought I liked her and Jughead together, but I kind of hated everything about her personality.
My favorite ship was them.
Yeah, they were the only thing that I liked about.
Didn't they date in real life?
They did, and then they broke up in April 2020.
Love how you remember.
I know this
so specifically.
because I was very
She's a
sad.
Cole Sprouse super fan.
The pictures he posted today on his Instagram, bopping. Just saying. So back to Riverdale.
Well,
no, okay. So the whole thing
can I
with
say
the
what I
pole
was gonna
dance.
say?
Yes.
Before you interrupted me about
Thing
Miss
with
Grundy.
the pole dance.
I would have. This goes back to the pole dance. I promise. So I liked how in the first season, like I felt like the way that they handled the romantic relationships between the main characters was like pretty mature, because like Betty told Archie that she likes him, and he's like, I don't like you back, and she's like, okay, well this hurts, but you know, once I can kind of recover a little bit, I still want us to be friends, which is like, you know,
it was the whole girl next door gone wrong.
It was a very mature thing to do. And then like, you know, halfway through the season, she and Jughead get together, and like that's like, and they're like very stable and very supportive of each other. And Archie and Veronica get together, and they're like, you know, they've shown to be like good friends and have chemistry, and that's
it was like, this works. It was like, this works. Yeah. This is how it should be. And then they were like, yeah, so what if none of this happened?
And then the second season, they're like, Betty and Jughead are just fighting the whole time over nothing, and it makes me so mad. And so so Jughead's like, I want to be a serpent. You're like, he's, you know, in this gang, and Betty's like, but that means we can't spend time together.
It's so
I'm gonna try and join a gang so that I can be with my boyfriend. So then she has to do the serpent dance, which is
a pole dance,
which is a striptease
with
in front of her mom.
Yes, because they had a get together. It was like a reunion or something, and then she was like, "Mom, can I go?" That's right. Because he was leaving, right? And then he goes, psych, I'm actually not leaving, right?
Yes.
And
you
she
look
goes,
like you're in pain, Reagan.
No, because she asked her mom if she could go with her, and she was like, wait, you're a serpent? She's like, well, I was.
I used to be.
I used to be in my young life.
In my youth.
She was like, oh yeah, can I go with you? And she goes, yeah, I guess. Girl starts drinking. Girl does a striptease, and her mom's like,
she does a striptease to Mad World by Tears for Fears, because Archie and Veronica were like doing karaoke of that song.
Yes. She was like, this is their song.
Of Mad World.
I was like,
they're having some sort of relationship issues, probably because of Veronica's dad, and so they end up like walking off stage.
Veronica's dad.
It's always because of Veronica's dad.
Crazy.
They end up walking off stage, and Betty comes in and she starts singing Mad World
in a very seductive voice. Like, I was like, meanwhile, I'm watching this with my mother, and this comes on. I'm like, I'm gonna go on my phone while looking up.
I just, that whole situation is so disgusting.
I'm happy I don't think I got there.
Good.
And
there's a chance I did, and I just blocked it out of my memory. But I was watching this with my parents too.
Yeah.
So
the thing with the striptease was she went in normal clothing and then ripped it off, and we were like, what? No. So yeah, this was really uncomfy.
Yeah, and the whole situation.
That's the whole show.
Like, yeah. The whole situation was so uncomfortable because, like, we're shown Jughead's process of initiation into the gang, and it's like these series of tests, you know, like his loyalty, they literally try to his strength and all of this stuff, and then Betty like says that she's interested in joining, and Tony is like, yeah, you have to do the serpent dance, and Betty's like, what's that? And it's like, she's like, yeah, it's a pole dance, and
don't we see her Tony, practicing in her room?
I think so. And Tony's like, the only commentary on how messed up that is is
Yeah.
Tony goes, yeah, misogyny dies hard, and then there's no further comment on this. And what I'm wondering is, did Tony have to do that at some point? Because she's been in the gang for a while. So was she like a child?
I hope not. I hope it was like
prepubescent?
by association. Like her parents did it or something. Cheryl didn't have to do it because she got the red
She
jacket.
gets special treatment because she's Cheryl. But yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that they were specifically trying to construct a scenario
I
in which
wanted
Lily
Betty.
Reinhart could take off part of her clothing.
Yeah, that's true.
And again,
really
the character
wanted
is supposed to be like
Lily.
16.
Yeah, I wanted Lily to be Serpent Queen because I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
Well, she was. Like,
But not
at the
really.
end of the second season, Jughead was like, will you be my Serpent Queen? And I was like, is
Okay,
he
but she didn't get the
proposing for
jacket.
her? And
She didn't get the
then she like acts as if she is, and then he's like, yeah, actually Cheryl. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Because
cool.
she's gay for Tony. That's the okay, but we do love a gay queen. Hate
I
Cheryl's
was
mother.
so
Literally want her to go die.
mad. I was so mad about the circumstances of like Cheryl's coming out. Like that was so
Yeah,
infuriating.
I was
to me,
like,
because it was basically like,
It's so
oh, we don't
sad.
have anything for this character to do. Let's make them gay now. They're gay, and so now
Yeah.
all of a sudden there's like no
That's-
build-up.
yeah,
There's
That's the whole show. We don't have anything for this character to do.
literally.
They're gonna do
Yeah.
this random thing that makes no sense now. That's the whole show.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
And then
if
is
you
it-
know the plot?
Okay.
That's about it.
And do you remember the Heathers episode when they broke up or something?
Yes.
And
And then
Tony was wearing red, and she goes,
Yes.
"You can't wear that.
Yeah.
That's my color."
Cheryl's like, I invented red. I am
I
red.
am red. She's like that. She was like, "Oh, that's an insult to my brother or something." She's like, "We are red," and I'm like,
Doesn't
Girl.
Cheryl
And then
at some
Tony-
point in season 4, like, doesn't she go like, you can't celebrate the 4th of July because that's when my brother died?
Yep. She's like, "You can't do that. That's so rude." I'm like, bro. And like the whole thing after Cheryl says that, Tony's like, "I'm sad boy hours," and then takes the other girl in the Serpents that also goes to their school.
She doesn't
and then,
have a name.
and we don't know her name. And then the other dude. Is it
Was it
Fangs?
Sweet Pea? No, because
Sweet Pea.
Fangs is gay.
Yeah, Fangs is gay. He's gay for Casey Cott, which is Kevin. Yes.
I want to talk about Kevin for a little bit.
I
after
do want to
this.
talk about Kevin. But like she goes and then she does like a seductive dance and is like, wait, never mind. I still like her. Bye.
Yeah.
That's the entirety of that song. And like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, love him as a character, but he's a bit stupid.
Okay.
Kevin
I don't
deserves
remember who
so much
Kevin
more.
is.
Kevin
He
is
did.
gay, and that's all you need to know about him. Because
He's
every
Betty's
line-
gay best friend.
Exactly. Every
think I
line
do
that
remember
he
him.
speaks
He's the chief
is
of police.
basically has to do with the fact that he is
Okay,
gay,
what does
or
he
the
look
fact
like?
that he is the sheriff's son. He looks very basic. He's just like a
Okay.
white guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think I remember who you're talking about then.
Yeah,
And
he's the
he's
one
like-
that runs all of the musical episodes. He's
Yes,
like, okay,
he-
guys,
he-
so for this year, the
Because you see
direction we're
he is
really
gay.
going for this. And then it always goes wrong. Like the first one that they did, I forgot what musical it was, but like Betty's
first
mom
one they
got to be
did
in it, and Betty was
was
pissed.
Carrie. The
And
first
then
one
one
they did was
girl-
Carrie.
Yes, they did. And
And
then
that's when
who
Midge
was
died.
Midge did die, and they put her on the set, and they
Yeah.
nailed her to the
Yeah,
production
the,
wall.
the,
And
the
it
black
turns
hood-
around and everyone goes, and it's like, I'm
And it's
coming
just-
to get all of you. And then it's the beginning of the whole like Black Hood storyline.
That's not
which
the
I'm-
beginning. That's not
Really?
the beginning. The Black
that's
Hood
the middle.
storyline starts. Yeah, that's like the real big escalation because I
Yeah.
think that's like
That's when we're like, oh shoot.
that's
he
when
was
stuff
here.
gets real. But you
Yeah.
know that happens right after they've been singing and dancing for the past 40 minutes, and it's like, this tastes like
Yes.
tonal dissonance.
Yes.
Um,
We're like, oh, that's kind of bad. Can we keep going?
Okay,
And
quote
then-
time. Quote time.
Okay,
I'm interrupting
I'm ready.
with a quote.
I'm ready. I gotta think.
Guys, can't we just liberate ourselves from the entire dichotomy of jock artist? Can we, in this post-James Franco world, be all things at once?
Is that Kevin?
No.
I gotta guess
No?
Jughead.
I will give you. No, it is not Jughead. I will give
That's
you a
not
hint.
Jughead. Jughead is
from
too
the
poetic to write that.
Jughead would never make a James Franco reference. I will give you a hint. It's from the first episode.
First episode.
I don't have any clue. So
It's not
I
Cheryl.
didn't really
Cheryl
watch
wouldn't
that
say
show.
that. Cheryl is a brat in the first season, and we all hate her. But then we're like, oh, we actually kind of like her now.
I like how progressively Cheryl just gets crazier and crazier, but we're all just like, it's fine. She's fine. Like, she's likable now.
It's
She's
fine.
not
Her
being
family's all
actively
gone.
horrible to the main characters, so it's fine that she's like,
Yeah.
she has her brother's body just sitting in her
In
house
the
stuffed.
basement with a demon doll of her apparently third twin. We'll get to that. But
I definitely did not get there. I'm sorry. What?
that's season 4. Okay, wait. I need to figure out who this is.
Why is this whole show just so stupid? Everything about it is stupid. It's
Is
just
it
like
Veronica?
I'm sitting there.
Yeah, it's Veronica.
Okay.
It's Veronica.
Okay.
It's because after when she and Archie and Betty are at the dance at the end of the first episode, and he's like talking about how he doesn't know how he's gonna do music and football. Remember when Archie wanted to be a musician? Remember that? Yeah. And then Veronica just whips out, "Can't we in this post James Franco world be all things?" And I don't know what that means. I don't know what James Franco has to do with anything.
Okay. It's just no thanks. So
Once again, isn't that the whole show?
Yes. So back to season 4. So season 4, they set up like a whole cult aspect to the
No, that's
show.
the third season.
Right.
That's the third season. The cults
All of
come
them are blurring
in
together.
the third season.
The 4th one is where Jughead fake dies. Okay.
Jughead
so
fake
the
dies
third-
in every season after the first one. But
That's
he
true.
fake dies for the longest in the 4th season.
In the 4th one. So first of all, the cult thing. We have this girl and her husband, right?
Her husband father, yes.
Her husband father,
Yes.
that pretends to be a high schooler for a lot of years. So she's like 27, acting like a 16-year-old in high school, trying to recruit people for
Yes.
this cult.
She's trying to recruit people from the high school, pretending
farm.
like her husband is her father.
Mhm.
And if you remember from the first season, the farm is literally just a farm that Polly
Psycho people.
wants to raise her babies at. And then in the third
Yep,
season, they're like,
because
no,
that's
never
where
mind,
Jason
they're a
wanted to
cult.
go. Yeah. Because that was
Same for the
Jason
sisters.
and their plan. They were like, yeah, we're going to go to the farm. We're going to raise our kids. We're going to be
Yeah.
fine.
She
And then we
literally
get
goes,
a
yeah,
whole
we're going to go to a
thing-
farm upstate. And then it's like,
Yeah.
and then it's like, no, actually, the farm is a cult. That's
Yeah.
what we find out in the
That
third
harvest
season.
organs from people
Yes.
Oh,
and other things.
I can't
It
believe
makes
I
them
missed out on that
delusional.
part of the show.
So, and then Reagan, do you remember when she was asking, it was either Betty's mom or her sister or both to come to like the twins initiation thing. And then Betty has like a dream or something that like they were
But with
holding the
floating
babies over a
babies?
fire and then they let them go. And then they're like floating and we're like,
Yes. That was like the first episode of the third season.
yeah, we were like,
It's like Betty
what?
starts hallucinating.
Yeah.
And I don't
And
remember.
then she gets her, it's a whole thing. It's so bad. And then Cheryl, well, like basically everyone at their school gets into it except for,
Well, all the relevant characters.
yeah. So like, I don't,
Except for Archie and
Veronica,
Veronica,
Betty-
because they have their own stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Jughead's, who knows where, I forgot where he
Jughead's got a
was.
gang. He's got his own cult.
Yeah. Yeah. Snakes.
That's what I absolutely hated about the third season is the main characters never spend any time with each other because they all have their
Yeah.
own like separate projects.
Yeah. And then Betty
Like
was
Archie was
working.
off fighting a bear.
Oh,
Like,
and he almost dies. And he's like, Jacket, I need your help. That's when he dyes his hair brown.
yes, he dyes his hair brown for an episode, and then he
And
leaves.
then he goes back to the
to
red because he's
Canada.
running from the cops.
Yeah, he's running from the cops. So he goes to Canada, dyes his hair brown, fights a bear, and then comes back. And that's like,
Yes.
and that happens in the
And
span
he
of like
takes
2
Jughead
episodes.
along with him. And then Veronica and Betty are like, what the F, man? Where did y'all go? And then they're like, ha ha, LOL, bye.
Yeah, and Archie
They're like,
and
we can't
Veronica,
tell you.
Archie and Veronica like break up by phone, and then Veronica's like, but we're endgame.
And then she goes to, what's his name? Oh my gosh. Is it Mitch? No. The dude that works with her at her underground club underneath Pops.
Reggie.
Yes. Yeah, so Veronica and them start selling liquor and maple syrup.
Jughead's mom gets involved with that whole thing.
Yeah. And then her dad is like
What a
coming
useless
at her. Hiram.
Yeah.
Veronica's dad literally comes for her in every season. It's so
Yeah,
bad. He's like, I'm gonna
it's-
buy out your business. And she's like, well, it's mine. She's like, you can't do that. He's like, I'm gonna destroy your reputation. He never does. She really just does this and is like, dude, I can report you to the police right now for many illegal things. This whole creation of the prison that he did, the whole like prison fighting club.
Veronica's dad builds a prison in town and then starts an underground like prison boxing ring where basically the fighters are slaves because they're prisoners. And when Archie
And
gets
people bet on
arrested,
them.
he is like fighting in this boxing ring. Why does he even get arrested? Oh yeah, he gets arrested because he was like helping Hiram do crimes. And
Why
like,
would he get arrested?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and he went off the rails in the second season. He started a like vigilante group to hunt down the Black Hood, and he
He did a
didn't
lot of
stop
things.
a dude from getting shot. And yeah, he was doing crimes for Hiram, and then Hiram gets him arrested for doing those crimes because
But then somehow
Archie
gets
decides to
out.
stop being loyal. Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember them breaking Archie out of prison so vividly, and I don't really know why.
Yes.
But yes, so Archie was fighting in this underground boxing ring, and while he was in prison, that's when we get the wonderful, wonderful interaction between him and one of the prisoners. Where Archie proposes that they do like a prison-wide like football game for some reason.
And then the Riverdale prisoners come
Yes, and so one of the prisoners
It's
is
not
like,
Not the cheerleaders. Not
They danced
the
to Schoolhouse Rock.
cheerleaders.
that's right.
Jailhouse
Sophia's
Rock.
still
Jailhouse
here. She
Rock.
didn't
So-
die.
Schoolhouse Rock, Jailhouse Rock. Timmy.
I have nothing to
Schoolhouse
comment on.
Rock
It's
is
a
a very
horrible
different thing.
show.
Honestly,
you
I'm
don't have
sitting
to
over
be here,
here.
Sophia. You're not obligated.
I'm sitting over here
No,
thinking
no,
the whole
I'm just
time.
listening to y'all. I
I'm
just
sitting
don't like
over
have
here-
anything to comment.
I'm sitting over here this whole time thinking, how did anybody while writing the show think it was a good idea?
It's
I'm
obviously
telling
written
you.
by old people and millennials, so LOL.
I'm telling you,
That's
like
true.
the writers
think-
know what they're doing. Like after so much of the reaction to the first
Just
season
'cause they
was
know what
people
they're
making
doing-
fun of it.
Just
people
because
making
they
fun
know
of
what
it.
they're doing doesn't mean that they should think they should keep doing it.
Yeah,
I
I fully
agree.
agree. But I really think they are after so much of the reaction to the first season was people making fun of the show for like the corny aspects of it. They were like, this is what generates buzz. This is what gets us marketing. This is what gets eyeballs on the show.
So they
So,
just
in
made
the
it more
second
corny.
season- Yeah, like the second season was, I think, still kind of trying. And then after the second season was still bad though.
Went off the
And
rails.
And then after that, they were like, there's no point. Why even try? We're going to go as crazy as possible.
But then
and we're just gonna
create
keep
3
upping
more
the ante.
seasons.
Yeah, they keep
They're
upping
still
the ante,
going.
but people keep talking about it and people keep watching it because that's what creates the intrigue. And I stopped watching because I was like, I can't be party to this. Like all of the stuff, all of the things that I actually got out of the show. Like I actually was, when I watched the first season, it was like it hit me at the right time because I was actually very emotionally impacted by the first season of Riverdale when I first watched it.
I
And
would
then after
cry.
that, yeah, like after that, I was just like, there's none of the things that I actually would stay for. Like it was just the stuff that, people would talk about and make fun of. And so I think
They made a show for it to be made fun of instead of it for it to be good. They got rid of
Exactly.
everything that made the show good to make people
Exactly.
talk about how bad it is.
Exactly. And I
That's
think a lot of
so
that,
horrible. That's such a
Yeah.
stupid concept.
but it
But
works
it
because this is
brings
what happens.
money.
Yes, this is what happens when your primary, when like art is made to be consumed by a market. It doesn't actually, it's not actually necessarily the most lucrative to make good art. It's lucrative to make art that people will talk about and get other people to watch. And
Like
Yeah.
everybody
I think-
says,
Because when you talk about
all press is good press.
Exactly.
exactly, and
I
it's
think-
not like the
people hate your
CW has anything better.
Yeah, it's not like the
anyways.
CW has a reputation to uphold.
Like that's the whole thing.
Oh, they suck
It's
so much.
terrible.
The CW is so bad. Every one of their shows is so bad. Except for one.
It's
They
the
have-
CW.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was good. Supernatural was good for like 5 seasons. And yeah.
Supernatural.
And Legends of Tomorrow
Legends of Tomorrow.
is phenomenal. Mhm.
So back to Riverdale. I want to talk
feel
about
like-
something. I want to talk
I
about
hope.
Cheryl's
Okay, let me say
Salem
something. Really quick.
situation.
People here who have not seen Riverdale are gonna be so confused. I have no clue what's going
I'm
on.
confused. I don't know what's going on. We could
Me neither.
summarize.
Half of your
Ethan's
plot,
like,
I'm just
Ethan's like,
what is
summarize
Sophia,
happening?
the
you're
plot.
not dead, and I'm just over here like, I don't even know what's happening.
That's the
I
thing.
know.
It's like
I'm at
there's
least vocalizing that though. I'm
There's-
saying I don't know what's happening, and I'm just like, yeah, that's what I'm here
It's-
for.
After the first season, it's impossible to summarize the plot because it's
Yeah.
not
There
a plot.
is none.
Because
It's a
there's 5
series of
different
ridiculous
plots.
things happening and the characters reacting to them. And
then
I don't
wait, I
remember
can
when
summarize
things
it.
happen
Season.
and why they happen. I just remember
I can summarize
sometimes
it.
something
It's
crazy
bad.
happens.
It's
It's
just
not.
bad.
I mean-
I've seen 2 seasons of the
It's
show,
corny.
but that show is.
It
so-
requires
Oh.
a specific taste to watch.
Oh
It
yeah,
requires a
Madelyn,
specific
like your taste in
self-hatred.
children's
By what you're
shows.
saying is, what you're really saying is, it requires no taste to watch. You have to have
Exactly. You
zero
have to
taste
have
be able
You
no
have
sit
to
through
be
that
willing
show.
to
watch
consume
it.
garbage. You have to be the type of person who will literally eat garbage out of the garbage can if you are the type of person
Which is why it's
who is
perfect
willing
for
to
Madelyn.
endure Riverdale.
Exactly.
Ethan!
I'm sorry.
I feel like
It's
I-
true.
I mean,
I
and
Oh,
I
gosh.
say this as someone who kept watching the 3rd season even though I hated it. And I stopped watching while it was airing, and then I went back and I watched the last few episodes on Netflix because I just wanted to finish it. So
Yeah.
I feel
There-
like
There are not very many shows. There's only 3 shows I've had to stop partway through because it was just so bad I couldn't keep watching. Well, 4 shows, and that is one of them.
mhm.
There's like, it's very. I'm a person who is not that picky about shows. They can be like half decent, and I'll be like, this is a not bad show, and I'll
Like I
watch the
said
whole
You know
thing.
what
before.
show you should watch?
It's.
Miraculous
Right.
Ladybug.
I already told him that.
I don't know if I have it in me to get myself to watch that show.
Same.
Okay,
I'm
No,
not
guys.
that'll be
I
my
don't
topic.
think I would-
That'll
I don't
be my
think I would-
topic.
No,
Okay.
Zoe's
don't
coming
know.
on. She's talking about it. She
I
already
don't
said
know.
she would.
You guys
I
can
don't know
both
that I
talk
would
about
hate
it.
that.
It's
I don't know that I would hate that.
Sophia
show
hasn't
if I got
watched all of
myself
it.
to
She hasn't
watch it.
watched season
Yes,
4.
I have. Yes,
You haven't watched
I
season
have.
4, have you? Season 4?
Yes, no, because I
Girl,
don't want to
that's
read
the new season.
subtitles,
For
Madeline.
20 minutes.
I'm not
Is it-
reading
Why?
subtitles.
What language
Thank
is it?
you.
It's in French.
French.
Oh yeah, I've had to watch shows that are in Japanese before. It sucks.
yeah, I love
But you
watching
get you get
shows in
used
other
to it.
languages.
No, I really hate it. It's just I got used to it eventually.
One of my favorite shows is a Swedish show.
It's the Muppets, isn't it?
No, it's called Love and Anarchy. It's on Netflix. It's very good.
Cough, cough.
I have to what?
Because the Swedish chef, he's your favorite
Oh!
character.
Oh my gosh.
So back, to Riverdale.
Riverdale.
Quote time.
Okay, I got this.
I feel like this is going to segue into what you want to talk about.
Okay.
So it'll be very obvious you said this. I had a triplet, Julian, whom I absorbed in the womb, and who's resurfaced as a doll that's moving about my house, causing mischief.
Okay, so we're gonna
Just
go back
repeat
to
that without laughing this time, so that it's very clear what I said.
I want to cry.
Of that.
I'm sorry. What?
I had
Why?
a triplet, Julian, whom I absorbed in the womb, and who's resurfaced as a doll that's moving around my house, causing mischief.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start with
So-
Cheryl. You know, the whole season, the whole thing basically starts off with her brother dying while they're at Sweetwater River.
Her only personality trait this first season was her brother dying. Uh-oh.
Her brother dying,
That's
and
the
also
whole
she's
thing,
I don't
though.
know if I can handle
I
this
know.
anymore. That was way worse than I thought this show was. I'm so glad I stopped watching what I did. This show sucks.
I'm never gonna stop watching. I gotta keep watching it, man. I'm committed.
I literally want
Once I get committed, I have
That's
to
how bad
finish
that
it.
was. I was not into. I gotta take off these fake sunglasses. I can't.
Yeah.
So, like the first season, you know, her brother dies, and we're trying to figure out who did it.
Uh-oh.
And we figure out that it's their dad,
Here we go.
basically, shoots him in the head. It's like,
Oh, great.
what's up? So,
Why wouldn't they?
and then the second season, I
remember
think,
that, actually.
we get into a whole fraud situation with her dad, right? Like he was like selling stuff because they were selling drugs. Remember?
Yes, that was why
Under
Cliff shot Jason. Was because
exactly
he found out about
because
the drugs. And then Cliff got
Yeah.
found out and he killed himself. And then
he hung
Cheryl
himself in
tries-
their barn.
Yes, Cheryl tries to kill herself because she's lost everything and her family
Yeah.
is abusive and her mother hates her. And then she fails.
Her
because
grandmother's
Archie
dead
punches a
too.
river and then
To save her from
burns her.
drowning.
If they had to do that.
yes,
Archie
yes,
punches the river.
it's actually really I
It's
would
an
say
emotional
that's a
scene.
really good
I-
scene.
Punches what?
because
I have
Archie
Yeah.
punches a river that's been
Ice.
frozen over because Cheryl at the end of the first season in the last episode she tries to
she
drown
goes out to
herself.
Sweetwater River to drown
Oh,
herself
okay.
because she
Yes,
wants
and
to
then-
die where her
Drowning
brother
herself. I
died.
thought
Yeah,
she
and
hung
so-
herself too, and I was like, how does
No,
punching
no,
a river
No,
help
no,
you
no,
when
Her
you're
No, no, no.
dad.
I was
her
like, how are
dad
these connected? How is it punching
Yes.
the river out for when she's dying?
Yeah, because she falls in the river and then she gets dragged like further down the river by the current, but she's underneath the ice because it's frozen. And so there's like no time to figure it out. And Archie's just like, well, this is what
Big
I gotta
boy
do.
football man. It's like I
so, he,
punched the
so he punches through the ice to get her out.
Yeah.
And then she
Sure,
burns
that
her house
hurt.
down.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that
I do
is
remember that. I remember that. Okay.
And then her
I did
mother
watch that
gets like
part.
3rd-degree burns.
yes, her
And her
mother
mom
gets
is like,
third degree
"I look
burns because she
ugly!"
ran back inside to
Yeah.
grab a painting, I think, because they were outside of the house and we saw it burning at the end of the first season. But then at the beginning of the second season, her mother has like 3rd-degree burns, and they have to explain how that happened.
I hate you.
Literally, I do love Penelope's descent into just being like a serial killer and no one cares.
Yeah, they're like,
she's just like, she's living in the walls of Cheryl's house, and Cheryl's just like, oh, hi, Mom. I guess this is what we're doing now.
And then isn't her brother buried in their freaking backyard or something? Like, is it like a cemetery down?
They have a cemetery on their
because their land has been there for since the long time. Yeah. And like doesn't her like uncle come into town, and there's a whole thing with
her
that
uncle, who is played by the same actor as her dad was, because they were twins, because everybody's twins
in their family.
Why not?
And so her uncle comes into town, and he's just like there. I don't even remember why he's there, but then he's just like, yes,
they like ask Cheryl for something. No, they asked Cheryl for something, and she's like, no, I won't give it to you, sort of thing. And then she like threatens to kill them, and then like, I don't know. And then her Nana's like, don't do that now. But honestly, her Nana kind of fired. She's dead, rolling on wheels, but she's still living.
Yeah, she's still kicking around, and honestly, like she's
given a lot of good advice, nice. Like throughout the show.
She's good to Jason and Polly and Cheryl and Betty, and so it's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and just like Cheryl's whole deal, I feel like the punching the ice scene was one of my favorite scenes because the shots were really good. And like I just feel like the way they portrayed it was very nice. Like it was how it should have been, and I don't think it should have been any other way. And I liked how it wasn't just Archie there. I think we forgot to mention that. But it's like their whole friend group finds out that she's gonna go kill herself, and they're like, we can't have that. Yeah. So they all go down there, and they're all like, Cheryl, don't do it. And then she just bam. Yeah. And then Archie's like,
and all of the other three, like Betty, Veronica, and Jughead, are like very calculated, very like they're schemers, and whereas
Archie's just go.
We keep being told that Archie is just like a good guy. That's his whole deal. He's a good person. That's not true. He's terrible. But that's what the show wants us to think. And I like that in that moment. It's like that feels like such an appropriate character decision, where it's like, this is not necessarily the best way to do this, but it's the option that I have in front of me, and I have to help this person because Archie is kind, and so he just
because he wants to be like his dad.
Yes, and
we just played like by Luke Perry.
Season 1 was actually good.
Rest in peace, Luke Perry. We love him. Yes. He was one of my favorite characters throughout the show. Yeah, he was a good dad figure. He's a good dynamic character, and I just loved him. When he got shot by the Black Hood in that freaking and Pops, I was crying. I was like, he can't die. They can't kill him. I like him as a character.
Yeah, I like that.
And he was like Jughead's father too, which made me feel good about it, because I was like, oh my gosh.
And they were really clarify we should clarify that he was Jughead's father figure, not his actual dad, because they do a whole lot of that in the show with like secret siblings and half siblings, and oh my gosh, we need to talk about Charles. So, Betty and Jughead, who are a couple who are dating, have a mutual secret half brother. Jughead's dad Charles and Betty's mom were dating in high school, and they had a kid.
Yeah, they do a whole throwback
put episode up for adoption, and then so,
because why not? Why not throw that into a show that already makes sense?
And wasn't it like Betty was the only one that didn't know? So then she was pissed about it?
Nobody. Alice kept it a secret from everybody. And then she told Betty at the end of the first season that she had a kid before Polly and Betty, but she didn't say whose it was, and we find that out in the second season, and then it's just so awkward.
Yeah,
he's he's just there. And he
Yeah.
works for the FBI and he recruits
Well,
women in
no,
the
you
FBI.
forgot one part.
But
They
there's
get the
Chick. I don't
wrong
even want to talk
guy.
about Chick.
Okay, so the whole thing was, she finds out she has a half brother. She wants to go find him. She wants to talk to him for some reason. So I don't know how they get to this point. I forgot how, but like they think
it's Betty. They sleuth.
Yeah, that's true. And she goes, I think this is him. She goes to meet up with him, finds out he's a druggie. And he's like, ew, it's like this frail looking man is not doing so hot. And then her mom is like, oh my gosh, I missed you so much, because she thinks it's also her kid, right? Like that's the whole thing. She thinks
Alice
it is him.
thinks it's her son.
Because she never saw him after she put him up for adoption.
Yeah. And then he like extorts them for drug money and it's just like generally creepy. And he's
psychotic.
He's doing stuff to terrorize Betty. And so she tries to threaten him back, which is when we get the wonderful, wonderful line, you think you're the only one who can scare people by being crazy? I'm gonna bring you down because I catch bad men. I caught Cliff Blossom, I caught the Sugar Man, and I caught the Black Hood. And do you know what they all have in common? They're dead.
I remember that. I was like, iconic. Yes, ma'am. Because honestly, she's a power figure. Love her.
Fun fact, Black Hood was not actually dead at that point because secretly it was Betty's dad the whole time.
Oh my god. And now he's in prison and he's like, I'm gonna ruin your life while in prison. And then like works with Hiram now.
Why does he want to ruin her life? I thought his whole deal was that he was actually like, Betty was the only person he cared about.
Well, no, he's the only person that he would talk to in prison. But his whole deal was like, well, he kept telling her stuff that she didn't want to know. And then she was like, stop, you're ruining my life, sort of thing. You're a terrible dad, leave me alone. But then kept seeing him in prison because she needed to know answers. And I think he was also the only one that believes her about the farm because her mom, her mom was like an undercover person
her mom
was in it.
Was like an FBI plant inside this cult that Polly, Betty's sister, joins.
For real.
This is the farm, and this is the organ harvesting father-husband cult.
Father-husband cult.
And this so Polly joins this cult. And then Alice pretends to join this cult as well.
It goes psychotic.
As part of the FBI's investigation.
To try to like extort them to stop.
To try to like take down the cult leader, Edgar Evernever. That is his name.
Edgar.
And
then their whole thing is like polygamy is okay, sort of thing. So he had like 5 wives.
He had Edgar, right? He had a ton of wives, yeah.
That's true. But then we find out, but they're just like really accepting. So then all the Riverdale kids are like, oh my gosh, let's go join. And Betty's like, you're
so
crazy.
Because Kevin, who is gay, as has been established, is like, oh, I'm sad because I don't have a boyfriend. That's basically his whole deal. His boyfriends keep bailing on him or dying.
Or dying.
Failing on him and then dying. We should actually. So, Joaquin.
Moose. Okay, let's establish.
Totally forgot about Moose.
Okay, the whole deal with Moose, wasn't he the first one that he ever liked?
Yes, he and Moose were the ones who found Jason's body at the river because they were fooling around in the woods. That was the end of the first episode. But then in the second episode, Kevin's like, actually, I hate Moose. I'm going to be super homophobic to Moose. His name's Moose, so he obviously can't be gay. He is not allowed in this exclusive club that is being gay, I guess.
And his whole thing...
Excuse me.
Yeah. And his whole thing...
to do that.
The whole thing in the first season was Moose was straight and dated the girl that died on the stage.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm so distraught. It was like, #I'm gay now. Like, that's what happened. He was like, oh my gosh.
All of the
queer
characters on that show are the worst. Like, They just
Yeah.
handled the worst.
Yeah,
So anyway,
but
so Kevin wants a boyfriend, but his first boyfriend, Joaquin, bails on him at the end of the first season. And then he dates Moose at some point. I don't remember if he dates Moose before or after Knives, who he was dating in the third season, I think. I don't know.
Wait, their name is just Knives?
Well, so it's so funny. We could actually totally do just a whole segment where I just read off the names of characters in that show.
yes.
Because
God.
we've got like Moose and Knives
Fangs.
and Sweet Pea and Fangs.
I mean, Jughead's
sorry,
an obvious
not Knives. Fangs. Knives is a
But his
completely
real
different thing.
name is like
Jughead's real name is Forsyth Pendleton the third.
in the third.
His dad's name is Forsyth Pendleton, which is why he goes by FP.
Yeah.
So
this show is so complicated. For what?
But we remember.
I
do
completely
not
lost.
remember everything. I remember everything in the first season because I just rewatched it.
Yeah, that's true.
And the first season is actually coherent. It's actually a coherent bit of television with like a beginning, middle, and end, and themes and plot lines and character development. Whereas everything after that, like I said, is
like
just something insane happening and the characters reacting to it in whatever way.
Oh my god, someone died again.
Oh my god, there's another serial killer in town. Oh my god, this D&D
The Black
ripoff
Dead
is causing people to commit suicide. Oh my
god. People are selling drugs. Jingle jangle.
Everyone's selling drugs in this show. It's so funny.
Yeah. Drugs are bad. Jingle jangle.
That's what the drug is called. Rocks and Jingle Jangle.
Rocks.
Yes.
But it was sold on the south side because that's sketchy. And then the south side school, remember the whole thing with that? It turned into like a drug factory after they kicked all the students out.
Yeah, like
Hiram
because that's what Hiram turns into the prison.
And it becomes like a whole drug thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I was tracking with you guys for a while. I am so lost.
The thing is, all of the plot lines are so non-linear because so many of them span multiple seasons, but are only like subject to like one specific character. So like Betty has a bunch of like all the stuff with her brother and her dad and the FBI is like very much in her own bubble, but it also interacts with other plot lines in like very specific ways. So it's really hard to summarize anything in the show linearly because it's like, at any given time, there's like this thing going on with Veronica and her dad, and this thing going on with Betty's family, and whatever Jughead's doing with his gang, and whatever version of crazy Cheryl is right now. And it's just like none of these things really interact, and just like whatever Archie's doing, Archie might be doing anything. They cannot figure out what they want Archie to do, because in the first season, it's like
he's all over the place.
His deal in the first season is he wants to be a musician, but he also wants to play football, and that's basically it. And then, which is like makes him the worst character.
It's fine.
It's fine, but
it's not like a complex character.
Yeah, I think he shouldn't have been the main character, in my opinion, because he's the only one of the 4 or even the 5 main characters, including Cheryl, who doesn't have like a stake, like an emotional stake in the main plot of the show. So every time we cut back to Archie, it's just like, oh no, I have stage fright. Like this is like,
I can't play
my music, and it's like Betty is like running away from evidence that has just been torched, and it's like in this murder investigation that they're doing. And so it's like it's not that there's anything necessarily wrong with like Archie's plot lines in the first season. It's just that like totally it's just very weird that it's like, oh yes, my family is wrapped up in all of this crime, and this has all to do with this murder investigation.
So is everyone else's family. And then there's Archie.
Exactly, all of the families except for Archie, who's just like, I don't really know what I want to do with my future.
Yeah, that's kind of like his whole spiel throughout the entire thing. He does something different every season.
Yeah, and then after the first season, they just keep looking for things for him to do.
I gotta ask this question. So are the main characters even really friends? Because half the time it seems like they are, but then the other half the time it seems like they hate each other.
So that's the thing
Question
is
mark.
after the first season, they're just constantly doing other things and they're constantly getting into fights and like fracturing and
As
making up.
couples.
And then Betty and Archie, every so often, the screenwriters are like, okay, if we haven't had enough drama in a while, so you guys need to kiss now, and then we can get some relationship drama. And
Didn't
then,
they kiss while they saw something burning down in a car on
Yeah, they, like,
Christmas?
isn't that when they burned
Oh yeah.
Jughead's trailer down? Is that what
I think
that was?
so.
Or was that no? Or that had something to do with the Black Hood because they were hunting the Black
Yeah.
Hood together, and it was like traumatic, and so they like kissed
Yeah.
because trauma or something. And then later, the four of them go on like a weekend away at Veronica's
To a
dad's cabin, and like Jughead finds out about this kiss and he gets so upset and he proposes this like it's so funny because they're like all the four of them are in a hot tub and he's like upset and he's like, I think I think it's Veronica who actually suggests it, who's like, Jughead and I should kiss. And then
Because okay.
and everybody's
because
like,
Betty-
what? And then
Betty and
Jughead's
Veronica
like,
had kissed. Archie
Yes.
and Betty had kisses. She's like, why not I kiss Jughead? Why not make it
And-
even?
also, by that logic, Jughead and Archie should kiss.
Should have kissed, but no.
Which is honestly a much better ship than Archie and Betty.
Mm-hmm. I was like,
So-
yes.
So Jughead just like whips out this foolproof logic, and he's like, "What if with like the resentment that comes from you guys kissing, like that could become ammunition in like a future fight, and we wouldn't want that. So Veronica and I should kiss, so that it's even."
Yeah, you can't say anything. No kiss first.
And it's like, again, very obviously a constructed scenario, and so that they can get like across relationships people kissing. But then in the fourth season, don't they like
No,
they
after
go
that,
hard on Archie and Betty, don't they, in the fourth season?
I think so. No, fourth
well,
season
'cause
is the
don't they-
whole
Don't they
Jughead
make out while
dying,
Jughead
and then
is
she's like
fake
really
dead?
sad.
Yeah, don't they
No,
like
the fourth season's pretty much Jughead and Betty, because she keeps going back to see him because he goes to that like private school
Mhm.
thing where like all the
Jughead
people are
just keeps going to
psychotic.
other schools, which I find just so funny. Like in
Yeah.
the second
many
They
season,
never
he's
want
at
him
South
at
Southside.
Riverdale. First of all, because he lived on the south side first, and he had to go to Southside High, and then he was
And
like,
then
"Yeah,
they
I'll go to
shut down
Riverdale for a
Southside
year."
High. So then he
It
went back
became
to
a
Riverdale
prison.
with all of the other Southside Serpents,
Mhm.
and then that got turned into a prison. Yeah, and then in the fourth season, he goes to Stonewall Prep.
Mhm.
Is that what it's
Psychotic
called?
people.
Stonewall?
Stonewall Prep. Yep. It's like a private school for really celeb kids that want to be writers, and like apparently like we figure out his grandfather went to it, so he had like what is it called? What is it called when like one of your grandparents have been there?
A legacy?
Yes. So they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're him!"
Is it-
And then we figure
what
out that
is-
his granddad wrote the entire series that he always loved as a kid, called the Baxter Brothers, and
Which
it's
is
a whole thing.
spoof on the Hardy Boys
Yep.
because, Betty's Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the whole
anyways.
thing was that it was stolen. That's another story.
Yeah, I love
We can talk about
so, like,
later.
the plot line of season 4 is centered around the scandalous act of ghostwriting.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yes,
And then people killing themselves because they can't keep the secret, so they're like, "Gotta off myself now. Promised I would."
yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is the secret.
As
Like the
they
first season it
should.
was drugs, the second season it was drugs, the third season it was 2 separate cults, one of them dealing drugs, the other one harvesting organs, and then in the fourth
Yeah.
season it was like, so basically like some dude committed
Their teacher committed suicide. He jumped out the window. And then the new teacher was like, "So guys, we're actually gonna try to find a new Baxter Brothers writer because it always changes."
Yeah,
And the Jughead's
it-
like, "Oh my gosh, my grandfather wrote it." And then he's like,
it's about
"I'm gonna
writing.
kill you." Oh my gosh. Literally. And then they have like that whole like secret club needs to be inducted to, and then Jughead gets into it. It's like the Skull and Quill Club, and it's a whole thing. And he like fake dies, and we see Betty kill him, and then done it. And, yeah,
That's the plot. That's the plot.
Wait,
that is it.
doesn't Jellybean like isn't
Yes. Okay, so
explain
the
to me the
fourth
Jellybean
season.
situation. So Jellybean,
Okay.
by the way, for those who don't know, is Jughead's
Jughead's
younger
sister.
sister. She's like what, 12?
12
At
or
that
13,
point?
yeah.
She was 10
So-
in the first season. So
Like the whole thing with Jughead is his mom and his dad got a divorce. So Jellybean went with their mom and he just stayed with his dad. But then obviously, as we know, trauma. He lives at a movie theater that then closes. He's sad. Archie, can I live with you? Yeah, sure, bud. I'll sleep on your floor. Sort of thing. And then as we move on through the season and FP gets a life and becomes like a good guy and like the sheriff and whatever, and is like
he
not a
they elect
gangbuster
a
anymore.
gang member as well, the leader of a gang as the sheriff. Because
That
they
makes
literally
sense.
just have no one else. like
Yeah.
all of their sheriffs
They're like,
keep
oh,
dying.
you're pretty. You can
So
beat
they're
people
like,
up. You're
"Him."
pretty bad. Yeah, we'll take you. All because Kevin's
Honestly,
dad
at that
had a
point-
scandal with the mayor that also resigned.
yeah.
So then you get Veronica's mom that does it. That then
Oh yeah, I completely forgot that
Hiram, and they
Veronica's
take
mom
over
became
all
the
of
mayor.
Riverdale.
Yeah,
I
Veronica's
remember. I
mom
actually
became
do
the mayor.
remember that.
That was in
Yeah.
the
That
second
whole
season.
show. What happened?
They were
to,
having
like,
an affair, and then
there's
Josie
literally
and
just
Kevin were
no
like,
plot.
What did you say, Ethan?
There's literally just no plot in the show, and if anything that happens is just subject to change for them. They're just like,
Exactly.
something
They will
happens,
make-
but wait a minute, what if we said it didn't?
Actually, this thing didn't happen. It's fine. Like it was
Yeah.
so
And they don't
infuriating.
explain it either. They
I
don't give
feel like-
any
No, it just
explanation.
happens.
It's just
The process of watching that show is just being
I
continuously
feel like I would be too
gaslit.
stressed. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just too stressful for me.
Exactly. Like the show was
Yes.
stressing me out so much that I had to stop watching. Because like
okay.
I was so mad at the end of the first season, you know,
I'm
like
stressed just listening to the plot.
It's
at the end
not
of
a
the
No,
first
plot.
my
season,
bad. Just like random things that
Okay.
happen that are
I
the
feel
plot.
like we should try to like go as far as we can, like summarizing the plot of the show
Yeah.
in order and see how quickly it devolves. Because I could definitely say like the first season, but after the second season starts, I don't know, man.
All
I
right,
can
so
help you with that.
the only issue
Okay, wait,
with that
back
is
to
we're
the-
running out of time.
Yeah. So back to
We've
the
been
Jughead
filming
thing
for
real
over
quick.
an hour.
So like in his mom and Jellybean.
We could
so
split this
then
up into 2 episodes.
we can. I can keep talking about this. So basically, his whole thing was his mom. He's like, I want to visit her again. I haven't seen her since I was like 12. LMAO. So then he goes to visit her, and she's like, oh my gosh, I miss you so much. But then she's like a drug dealer too, and is like in a really bad
because
place.
every adult in the town is a drug dealer except for Fred.
Yeah.
Because Fred is good and
Fred
that's
is a
it.
king. Yeah. And then she's like, oh my gosh, I should move back to
Every
Riverdale
adult
with your
in the town is a
sister.
drug dealer or a serial killer, I should say,
Yeah.
because Betty's
That's
dad
true.
Or both.
and
Or both,
yeah,
yes.
that's true. Cheryl's mom is
They at
both.
least
She
have
also
killed
runs a
one
brothel.
person. Oh yeah. Like a sexual
Cheryl's
club
mom-
sort of thing.
Yeah, Cheryl's mom runs a brothel
maple
slash
syrup.
is a homophobic serial killer.
Yes. So
Because
she
why
hates her
not?
Lives
daughter.
in Cheryl's
Why not?
walls.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they make that happen? That
And
makes
then-
perfect sense in a show. It is
So then-
entirely relevant.
After FP and his mom like make up, then like Betty moves out of her house.
No, isn't Betty
Because-
living with the Joneses in her
Okay,
old
wait.
house?
You'll
Because
you'll see-
Alice sells them her house because she's moving in with the cult, right?
She's like, oh my gosh, there's too much trauma here. You should move with me to the farm. And she's like, no, I'm not
Yeah.
in that crazy
I just
town.
find it so funny that
So-
they so badly did not want to build another set to be the Joneses' house that they were
Mhm.
literally like, here, just Betty's house. Like,
Yeah, so the
Jughead's-
the Joneses buy their house, but Betty's like, LMAO, I'm gonna live here still. And Jughead's like, okay, they're like, you can just keep your room. We'll just take the other ones. So yeah, so then they live together, but then now they're like broken up. I don't know, man.
They do that.
But it's like,
sometimes.
yeah, but they do that sometimes. It's fine, guys. But they don't break up till season 5, though, I think. Because like the whole like thing with season 5, I think, is it's like a flash forward.
Yeah, it's a time skip.
So
Like it's
it's
an
like
Why
they're all
not?
adults.
When they
Yeah.
run out of plot
It's a
points,
time
why
skip
not just add
and-
a random time skip?
They
Yeah,
all
well,
work at the school or in Riverdale.
Yeah, well, because
Jughead's a teacher at Riverdale, I think.
yeah, at the start of the 5th season, they're all like separated. Jughead's like a washed-up writer in New York, which is what he was destined to be, honestly. Jughead's a terrible writer. Like, if you actually,
Yeah.
sometimes I will close my eyes and like listen to the opening and closing narrations and pretend like it's an audiobook, because that's what
Yeah.
they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be from his book, and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is terrible. He's using so
Yeah.
many adjectives all the time. Anyways, that's
Yeah.
not the point. Jug has a washed-up writer in New York. Archie had joined the army and like got injured in the
Mhm.
army. Betty was working for the FBI after she got recruited by her and Jughead's mutual half-brother, but then she got like super duper traumatized because she basically got Buffalo Billed, like this serial killer like trapped her in a hole for months, and then she got out and she's like all traumatized now. I don't know what Veronica's deal is. She got married.
I don't know. She's probably selling alcohol like she still did and maple syrup with Cheryl, something like that.
Yeah.
Still
all
running
I know
her
is that she's
Or
underground.
she's a
married.
drug dealer or serial killer.
No,
not
she
a-
sells
she's-
alcohol
No, she runs a speakeasy at 17 years old. That's
underneath
Veronica's thing.
Pops, which is
Yes.
very illegal. Had to
Yeah.
skip a it's a
So
little sketchy, but it's okay.
I love how
Isn't like
everybody has gone
everything that happens in that show just illegal? Like
Yes.
I think every
There's
single
nothing
They're all
person
legal
in the
minors.
going on in
entire
that
town.
show.
I think every character in that show has broken the law at least once.
Yeah, in like some major way. Like even Fred, the king, has committed forgery and fraud. So
Yeah, but he dies, so we can't really say anything. Oopsie.
yeah, he did it for a good reason. He did it to
Yeah.
keep Jughead from being arrested on
Yeah.
false charges. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's not the point. So in the time skip, I love how all of them have gone through this like dramatic stuff, and Veronica's whole deal is like she's married and she doesn't really
She's like,
know how she
That's
feels about that.
dramatic. That is dramatic.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
But then they all like have to return to Riverdale because the town's dying, and Tony
Yeah, they have
like
to, like,
shows
revive it or
Archie around
something.
and is like, "Here, look how horrible things have gotten." Yeah, so they all come back and they all
Yeah.
become like teachers at Riverdale High, which is just so funny.
yeah.
It's like
I don't
they
think any
can't
of them are
build new
qualified.
sets. They have to keep the
They're
Riverdale
not.
High set because they can't build new sets because they're so cheap. So that's what I know about the 5th season.
Yeah, I mean, we should do another episode on Riverdale because I could keep talking. I don't think we want this to be 2 hours. So you should do
I think-
another quote.
Okay, quote
To
time.
end it.
Is this the final quote?
I think this is a final quote to close it out because I think
Okay.
we got enough content.
Oh, I gotta say, that started making sense, and then I think anybody that's watching this will end up stopping watching this before they get it. I don't think anybody could
Exactly.
understand anything that happened after like that point
Because you
where
have
it's like
to
I'm confused.
watch it.
But
the thing
I-
is, you
but
won't
you
be less
shouldn't.
confused having watched it. You will just be stressed out and made upset. I would totally recommend the 1st season. I think we should do a second part and just focus on discussing the 1st season.
First season, which that's
Like
the
the
thing, the
plots
one
of
part of
all-
it that everybody understands too.
So you guys can
You
look
guys
forward to
wanna-
that.
You guys want to pull a WandaVision and rate the show?
Yeah.
Rate the entire show.
Yes,
I
I
would
rated
give that
0, -12.
Negative
Zero.
1,000.
I rated question mark.
question mark out of 10. I would say I rate it like three bear attacks. I rate it 3 bear attacks out of 10 illegal speakeasies run by minors underneath a burger shop.
I
What
think
can you like approximate how much of real numbers that is?
that.
No, Riverdale
No.
transcends numbers.
I
It is
say
beyond simple numbers.
I would say
It has its own numbers. Honestly, I wouldn't be
Uh,
surprised if they created their own numbers at this point.
we didn't talk about this, but I rated 5 Gargoyle Kings out of 10 psychotic serial killers, FBI agents. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's not terrible, but it's also
It
it's
is.
like.
It is terrible.
It is. You
But
can't
that's the
tell
whole
me it's
thing.
not.
It has to be bad. So if it's good, then you're like, what are you doing?
If it's good, I'd still be watching the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I
If
think
it's
that's
good,
the issue.
it's good.
They have the same thought process that you do right now. The
Yes.
issue is they're wrong.
Like, it's not terrible, but it's not my favorite show.
It is terrible.
It's terrible.
It
It is.
terrible.
But it's not
You're
the
in
worst
the
show.
No, it is.
No, it is.
I don't really say
honestly,
it's the worst show that
it's the
have
worst
ever
show
seen,
that
but
I've
it's
watched
down there
ever.
because
You can't. You
we're-
keep saying it's not that bad. The fact of the matter is, you're wrong.
the fact of the matter is you have
Just
just spent an hour
objectively speaking.
describing insane things and not being able to connect them back to a linear plot because they don't make any sense.
Exactly. I love chaos, guys. It's how I live.
People have started picking up on the fact that it's just being bad for the sake of being bad and getting people to talk about it and make cringe compilations and stuff. And so I think, like I said, I've seen a lot less online about the 5th season. I think because people have just kind of stopped caring because they're over it and we've got other things to worry about, There's a pandemic going on.
So what is our last quote? And let's see if I can get it to wrap it up.
Oh, well, you'll know exactly what this is. In case you haven't noticed, I'm weird. I'm a weirdo. I don't fit in. I don't want to fit in. Have you ever seen me without this stupid hat on? That's weird. Doesn't it even occur to you just how different we are, like on a cellular DNA kind of level? You're a straight A student. You're a cheerleader, for God's sakes. You're a perfect girl next door. I'm the damaged loner outsider from the wrong side of the tracks.
Funny is half of that actually sounds like something I would be able to say. For example, have you seen
That's
I never
Mr.
take off the
Jughead
stupid hat?
Jones.
I'm always wearing that.
Have you ever seen me without the stupid hat? And I feel like that is a good segue into promoting the part 2 that I guess we're doing when it's my week next month, because that like monologue
I don't know if
is
I can
very
handle
cringy.
much more of this show.
No, but we're only going to be talking about the first season, I promise.
That makes
like,
that
We'll do
makes
it
it
in
better.
depth.
That makes it better.
Unlike the previous
Yes.
quotes of like Cheryl talking about the triplet she absorbed in the womb, or Archie telling a guy that he got attacked by a bear, or the epic highs and lows of high school football, it is cringy in a way that I think works thematically, and isn't just bad for the sake of being bad.
Yeah.
I hate everything about that show except for season 1.
I agree.
I didn't realize how much I hated it until we started talking about it, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, this show is so bad." I literally partway through this, I literally got to the point where I literally wanted to just straight up cry on the spot because of how much it hurts my soul that this show exists.
Yeah.
What's next week? Next week's episode is
you.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the top 10 most popular video games. So thank you for watching. If you're still here,
thank you.
we appreciate you.
Thank you for
I don't know how you did it.
Thank you for helping us through this difficult this difficult
emotional
scenario.
ride.
Yeah, thank you for helping
This is an
for
emotional
listening to
roller
us
coaster.
vent this trauma that we
Yes.
have experienced.
Yes.
Please, I promise the next one won't be like this.
The next one will be a lot more coherent because I'm sure the media we will be talking about is a lot more coherent.
I mean, there's not a lot of things that are going to be as incoherent as Riverdale is. So, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We've also got other links in the description.
Yes. Go
So,
follow our
go follow.
Instagram.
And we now have an Amazon Music.
Yes.
I'm still working on Apple. It might actually be there by the time this podcast is up, but Apple sucks.
It probably
So-
will be. I mean, it's coming out at the end of next week, so
I know.
Check
but-
us out, man.
Also,
Yeah,
do it.
Sophia has been here as our special guest of every week.
Sophia has been
Even though she
silently
said like
listening.
4 things the whole time, including sup. So bye.
Bye.
Links, all
If you're
links
still
in
here,
description.
I don't know why, but get away from here.
Thank you for sticking it out. Goodbye.
Bye.
LOL.